Known to millions of viewers as the tough, hardline tycoon in the BBC programme The Apprentice, has made another ruthless decision. He's selling the computer company he founded decades ago. Amstrad, one of the pioneers of the computer revolution, is being bought by BSkyB for £125 million. Here's our business correspondent Rory Cellan-Jones.
You went out and lost me money. You're fired. You're fired. You're a total shambles. You're fired.
He's handed out the hard lessons of the business world to would-be apprentices. Now, in typically unsentimental fashion, Sir Alan Sugar is selling Amstrad, the business he built over 4 decades, to BSkyB. He's probably Britain's best-known businessman, and Alan Michael Sugar has built a giant business empire out of the company which bears his initials. Well, actually, Amstrad isn't really that big a business. Still, you'd think its founder would be pretty sentimental on the day he sold it.
You'd only have emotion if your company went bust or was no longer in existence. As I'm repeatedly telling you, and you don't seem to want to listen, is that this is a stepping stone in the company's history.
Alan Sugar made his fortune spotting what consumers wanted from new technology. But while his word processors brought computing to British homes in the 80s, recent products like the emailer weren't big hits. And nearly all Amstrad's profits now come from set-top boxes for Sky. It's not been a smooth ride. In 1985, profits of £10 million looked very good. But by the early 90s, Amstrad was losing £70 million. In 2001, the company made just £1 million, but last year's profits hit £20 million. James Murdoch, former apprentice of another tycoon, is the Sky chief executive who's bought Amstrad, and some think Sir Alan may have got the better of the deal.
For Sugar, I think this is a very good deal. It frees up his time and capital, and now we can move into new directions as well.
But what about BSkyB?
That is the area that I'm puzzled at.
Sir Alan still has other parts of his empire to keep him busy, and he'll have more time to give those apprentices some gentle guidance. Rory Cellan-Jones, BBC News.
You're fired.
10 o'clock news continues on BBC News 24 with tomorrow's papers, a business roundup, and in Sports Day at 10:30, India win the second test at Trent Bridge. But why did England captain Michael Vaughan go on the defensive over some jelly beans? That's all revealed on News 24 here on BBC One. I'll be back with the headlines after you joined our news teams where you are. Bye for now.
Good evening. 4 shootings in 4 days. Another gun attack in Manchester is keeping the city's problems firmly in the headlines. A 33-year-old man was shot in the leg this morning. And as the city's coroner promised anonymity to anyone who gives evidence against gunmen, an international music star has also intervened, urging young people to turn away from gun violence. Helen Brown has the details.
Police officers examining the scene of Manchester's latest shooting. Gunshots were fired through the window of this house at a 33-year-old man as he played a computer game just after midnight. The man, who's not been named, lives here with his partner and their 2 children. His injuries are not thought to be life-threatening. Last night, the R&B star Akon came to Moss Side and urged young people to turn away from gangs and guns. He asked the crowd to raise their hands if they believed violence was the answer. Not one person did.
We don't agree that violence isn't the answer. How many people will actually try to figure out ways to solve their problems without using violence?
Here, Akon is seen as a role model.
It took his time to come down and share his word. That was a good thing.
And for free as well.
Yeah.
Younger children need more people like him to come to the hood and to tell us what we need to do in life, you get me? And they'll listen, because that's who they listen to, singers, rappers, that's all they listen to, you get me?
But will the word of an R&B singer work in a place where politicians and the police have struggled for years?
A former BNP local candidate has been jailed for 2.5 years for storing explosive chemicals at his home. Robert Cottage had built up the stash, fearing the country was on the brink of civil war. The 49-year-old from Colne in Lancashire had earlier pleaded guilty to possession, but was cleared of conspiracy to cause explosions. Police discovered the chemicals pile in September 2006.
He's got his own views as to how society will develop. Those views aren't shared, I don't think, by a large number of people. But the judge quite clearly said today that she viewed the situation as him preparing for self-defence in the event of civil war.
It's being reported that a PE teacher from Liverpool has died on a school trip to Australia. He was taking a group of boys on a rugby tour when he was killed whitewater rafting. He taught sport at Merchant Taylors, a private school in Crosby. It's understood the party is coming home early. An elderly woman has been killed after being hit by a train at an unmanned level crossing in Wirral. The woman and her dog both died instantly at Sandringham Avenue level crossing near Manor Road Station. A phone at the gate allows pedestrians to check if it's safe to cross, but police say there was no record of a call being made today. A former model who stabbed her boyfriend to death in a Merseyside restaurant has lost her appeal against her murder conviction. Stephanie Williams was jailed for life after attacking convicted drug dealer John Lamont with a steak knife in the Chapelbrook pub in Huyton in 2002. She claims she was suffering from battered woman syndrome. A man has admitted selling a fake Egyptian statue for which Bolton Council paid more than £400,000. 47-year-old Sean Greenhalgh from Bromley Cross has pleaded guilty to defrauding a number of art galleries. Bolton Council thought it was buying a statue which was more than 3,000 years old. Bloomin' ridiculous. That's the verdict of a couple of award-winning gardeners from Morecambe who've been told by Lancaster City Council that their garden is too pretty. The councillors told them they must remove a trellis of roses by tomorrow. Here's Lisa McAllister.
It's a battle about blossoms and blooms. Barry and Betty Atack are a retired couple and keen gardeners, but they've been told by the council they must take down this rose trellis as it detracts from the simplicity of their terraced row.
It's that daft, you couldn't make it up. If you were thinking of a funny story, you wouldn't think of that, would you? They told us this house is too pretty. If it was in a rural setting, they told us, it would be very good, but not in Morecambe. That's insulting to Morecambe, isn't it? As if we're not worthy of nice gardens.
Ironically, Betty and Barry won the Silver Cup at last year's Morecambe in Bloom, a competition sponsored by, yes, you guessed it, Lancaster City Council. The deadline set by the council for removing the trellis is tomorrow, and with D-Day fast approaching, the pair are standing firm.
I've known her for 54 years, I think it is, and I know her determination, and if they carry her off in chains, she'll take her hanging baskets with us to brighten the prison up, I should think.
But the council is also determined. In a statement they said, the householders have had the benefit of public money to improve their property. The council is obliged to ensure that the alterations do not compromise the works paid for by the grant. We will support a consistent form of trellis if they agree it with our planning officers. Betty and Barry's garden really is a bit of a local landmark. They've even received postcards from tourists complimenting them on it. The couple themselves are simply baffled that the council can find something so pretty, so offensive.
Football now, and Manchester City's new owner is denying allegations that he presided over human rights abuses when he was Thailand's Prime Minister. A human rights organisation claims that Thaksin Shinawatra allowed death squads to execute drug dealers during a crackdown on narcotics. It's demanding to know why the Premier League decided he was a fit and proper person to run a football club. And a High Court date has been set to decide whether Carlos Tevez can finally play for Manchester United. West Ham will go to court on August the 22nd to determine who owns the player and whether he can move to Old Trafford. And don't forget, if you want to see more on any of our stories, then you can. Just go to our website. That's at bbc.co.uk/NWT. Well, let's take a look at the weather now, and cloud will increase during the night with some light showers possible. For tomorrow, it'll be a rather cloudy day, particularly over the Lake District, but Thursday, there'll be plenty of fine, dry weather around. Good news. That's all from the Lake team. Now we go back to Hugh Edwards in London. Good night.
Tonight's main news, the UN is to send the world's biggest peacekeeping force to Darfur in Sudan, where the conflict has claimed 200,000 lives in recent years. 30,000 junior doctors will take up new jobs in the NHS tomorrow, prompting fears of disruption in some English hospitals. Newsnight is starting on BBC Two, but from all of us here on the 10 o'clock team, have a good night.
Hello there, good evening. Today has brought us another fairly decent day weather-wise across the UK. A lot of dry weather, a lot of sunshine, and for many of us, temperatures in the low 20s. For the majority of the UK, it is a case of more of the same tomorrow, but there are some changes on the way, so some variations in our story. Across England and Wales, we very firmly hold on to high pressure through into the middle of the week, but for Scotland and Northern Ireland, we do have a weather front passing through, which will move its way in overnight tonight and bring some changes. So here's that weather front as we change our weather picture, our pressure picture into a satellite picture, and here it is on our forecast, bringing the rain into Northern Ireland and Scotland during the small hours of Wednesday. Potentially some heavy rain for a while. Ahead of the weather front though, clear skies across England and Wales, meaning another fairly cool night actually. Perhaps not quite as chilly as last night, but some rural areas could have lows of 5 or 6 degrees. Milder certainly underneath the cloud for Northern Ireland and Scotland, but unfortunately that cloud does mean quite a gloomy start to the day with quite a lot of wet weather for a while across Northern Ireland, I think the central lowlands and the southern uplands of Scotland initially. To the north of the weather front, it will be drier across northern Scotland, but not much brightness around first thing, perhaps the best of that around the Moray Firth. Head further south, a little bit of cloud just pushing its way into northern England by this stage, but across the Midlands, East Anglia and the southeast, barely a cloud in the sky. Now, perhaps 11 or 12 degrees Celsius, a little fresh as you're just heading out of the house, but all of this sunshine across the southwest of England and Wales will do a good job of compensating, and there's plenty of strength in the sun at the moment, so that will help to get those temperatures pushing up very nicely through the day. And generally for England and Wales, the picture doesn't change too much as we go into the afternoon. Perhaps a little bit more cloud working its way into northern England and the threat of some rain, particularly across Northumberland. For southern Scotland, though, and Northern Ireland, gradually things will improve as our weather front fizzles away through the afternoon, and hopefully we'll see some late brightness. Temperatures ranging from the high teens for Scotland and Northern Ireland up to 23 or 24 for East Anglia and the southeast of England. Now for Thursday, perhaps a slightly more pessimistic day. I think there'll be more in the way of cloud around across the UK and the threat of some showers, but East Anglia and the southeast do look like they will stay dry and sunny, and it's here then that we'll get our top temperatures. For Friday though, I think the rather drier prospects return once again, but it will still be rather cloudy. But by the start of the weekend, at the moment at least, it looks like there'll be some decent sunshine and decent temperatures on the way for all parts of the UK. Worth keeping up to date with though, as ever, that forecast. For more, there's always the website or BBC i.
Jade Goody and her turbulent career. Hear her side of the story in You Can't Fire Me, I'm Famous, next on BBC One.
Brought you something in, Mariko. I've plated you up a Sunday lunch. There was some good spare.
It's Wednesday.
Yeah, well, it's a shame to waste it. Now, I wouldn't trust the sprouts, but everything else is fine.
There's no escaping the visit. Sunday at 9 on BBC Three.
Friendships under test when two men of the cloth fall for the same woman. Film comedy with Ben Stiller, keeping the faith in 45 minutes. But first on BBC One, Reality Bites for Jade Goody.